Okay, hey guys, we're back. I wanted to come back and show you guys my client's hair is completely flattened out, and she's agreed to let me do a live demo on her haircut. So let me show you her hair first of all, so you guys can get a good look at her hairline. Here's how her bangs are going. So I have her hair straightened out. I want you guys to see how it's flowing first. Here it is. Like, here's what we discussed earlier where she had the breakage in her hair. So you kind of see like it's a small hole in that section. And what I mean by a hole, like you can kind of see gapping through it or light passes through there, okay? So here's her back. You can see how her ends are looking. And the reason I'm showing you guys this is because this is going to help guide me into the haircut. So based off of how her hair is flowing is how I determined what kind of haircut that we're going to do. So I'm feeling, just to make it look like her hair, even though her hair is broken out in certain places or we have a little bit of breakage in certain places, we still want her hair to appear healthy. So we want to give her a nice uniform haircut. And based off of how her hair is flowing, I feel that like a disconnected kind of like A-line bob is going to be our best course of action. The way that I explained it to my client to maximize the length, because as you can see here, she has healthy hair through this area, and then you see these long strings right here. So I think what I'm going for is either going to be between a blunt cut bob or an A-line bob. I feel that an A-line bob will preserve the maximum amount of length because we can, the hair will flow towards the front. We can push this direction, like I can cut, you see how I'm pushing the hair in this direction? I can cut the hair to flow in this direction and create weight, and it'll maximize her length. So I'm just going to kind of get into it. I have my camera lady here who's gonna be assisting me, but yeah, I want to demo the cut live, so you guys stay with me. And as you know, like if you have any questions, you want to jump in, ask me what I'm doing, I'll be happy to answer anything. So here we go. Got it? Okay, so first I'm not going to establish any sectioning because right now, well, actually, I take that back. Actually, I like the way that her hair is flowing. This is going to be part of my guide, my part. We want a deep side part and bang, so I'm going to keep the part there. And then I'm going to kind of, this is going to be my bang, so I will separate that out. But based off, I cut based off of the round of your head. So I'm going to establish a round here. And most people section the hair based off of the sides, but you want to customize the haircut based off of the person's head shape. So her hair naturally rounds in this area. So as you see, it looks like I'm taking hair from the back of her head, but I'm actually not. This is considered the sides of her hair. So all this, even though it's in the back, is still part of the sides. And as you see, it adds more weight to the hair. So I am, for video purpose, I will section that out. So I'm just going to kind of clip that out the way. There. Then I have this to work through on my back. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the next side. And I'm doing back diagonal partings because, like I said, I want some of that hair from the back to flow to the front so that we can create that weight line and maximize the amount of length that she has in the front. So I'm going to use this as my back section, my guide. Because I want her hair to be kind of texturized and like fun and flirty, let's see here. I'm going to see if her hair can handle a razor first. I have a razor just so that we don't have necessarily, like, you can still do a blunt cut with a razor, but it's not going to be like as sharp of a line. It's going to have some texture to it, so be nice for layers. All right, that's great. Okay, bring your head down for me, sweetie. Okay. that already looks better. And I can go through here with my shears and kind of point cut this just to clean this up some. Okay, head down some more for me. Go. So as you guys can see here, if you see how she bends her head down and it flows downward, this, even though this is the back of her hair, it's gonna push, once I trim this side, it's gonna push the sides forward just because of how her head rounds, and me, based off of me cutting it off of the rounds of her head, it's gonna create more weight. So remember, short hair pushes long hair. So if you imagine how it's cut, since this is going to be shorter and this is long, that short hair is going to push the long hair forward. So that's what we're going for. And as you can see here, just based off of that, just cutting that little bit of hair, her hair looks healthier already. It looks like full hair. It looks intentional, and that's the goal. We want it to look intentional. Okay, there you go. Okay, so next I'm gonna work on this side here, and I'm gonna take, since we are preserving length, I'm gonna pull all this hair back to my guide, which is the back here. And if you can see here, I don't know if you can pick that up in the camera, you can see my weight line. So this kind of gives you a visualization of where I should cut. Anywhere that the light passes through here, that's what I'm going for my angle. So. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, it's a little awkward for me, guys. I'm trying to do it to where you guys can see and I can also do the work, but it's a little awkward. Okay. And see, if you see here, it looks completely, you can barely tell that there's a hole any further. Now, once we get to, you know, the finishing techniques, I will do some face framing as of these edges here, like that brittleness and everything right there. I'll try to do some detailed work to clean up as much of that as I can, but for what me and my client discussed for the end result of the haircut, we're gonna have this like kind of tucked behind her ear, really cute, and it's gonna have like an emphasis on these bangs. Like the bangs are gonna be in her front, but as you can see, that already, you can see a major difference with just that there. Okay. You see, and it just looks like shiny. This is what a good haircut does. Like this brings out the shine of her hair. It looks completely different from the front side. So here, just cleaning that up, I do see light is passing through here. I want to make this a sharper angle, so I'm just going to point cut through here a little bit to make more of a distinction there. And when me and my client discussed, I told her that we were going to trim probably about 1 inch to 1.5 inches off of her length. But as you can see right now, we're barely at 1/4 inch. Like, one thing about me, I'm not shear happy, so I don't like to trim off a lot of your hair. If you tell me you're trying to grow it out, I will preserve as much of your length as I can. Y'all excuse our train. But yeah, I try to preserve as much of the length as I can, but I am very honest, so I will tell you if you need it. So, we go there, bring this out. Okay, and I changed the direction of my angle because I had something, like I said, it is going to be some disconnection, but you still want to make sure that your angles meet and they align up. So whatever direction that you comb the hair in, everything should still be, it should still flow. It should still flow cohesively. So always remember too that, you know, when you're trimming hair, if you lose your guide, comb smaller sections. You know, you can recomb that same part and get your guide, but you still, even though you see I used a razor initially, I still have a clean line, but it's textured, so her hair is gonna flip nicely. So go there. So here, this is on this side of her hair. I don't know if you guys can see that. She has a little bit more length, so right here I can decide now if I want to continue on with that asymmetrical cut, or pardon me, I can decide now if I want to continue on with that A-line cut, but it's giving me more of an asymmetrical vibe. So if I preserve the length of her hair on this side would be longer, which would change our cut. It would change it to that asymmetrical, where one side is longer and then the other side is shorter. And it's not a bad thing at all, but it just kind of depends on how you want the hair to flow. So here, I'm kind of, tilt your head over for me, sweetie. I'm kind of basing this off of like how her hair, this for me is more about like me fixing this side. This is gonna be more about the flow of her hair versus the technique. So this is like where just me as a hairstylist come in. I'm just eyeballing the client's hair and seeing what I want to do right now. Okay, and now looking at this, okay, that has a cleaner line, but I want you guys to see where I'm at. So, no, you're fine, sweetie, you're fine. It's flowing, as of right now, just taking a peek at it. If you guys can see that, it's, sorry about that. It's flowing more like a line bob, so it's even on both sides. But then again, I do have to connect. Even though we are going to have like very layered and texturized bangs, like I do have to connect that. So I will say it's not flowing in the direction of an asymmetrical anymore, but that's okay. We're still going to get it. It's still, the haircut is still going to look intentional. So right now, typically I like to do like face framing work towards the end once I get my layers established in the hair, but I'm actually gonna work backwards because there's a hole, there's like the disconnect here. You can see, I don't know if you guys can see that, like how the light is passing through there. I want to establish a guide for the bangs first before I go back through and detail the bottom of it. So here you go. What I'm gonna do here is, this is about my longest piece on the side. I'm just gauging how much of this is broken and how much it needs to be trimmed to go in here. So to take that in consideration, let me spin you here. If I'm visualizing the haircut, I'm looking at it here. From here you can tell about here, this is about the shortest piece of her bang. So I want to keep that as long as possible, but I still want to trim the end. So I'm saying my shortest piece is probably gonna be about, I'll just go ahead and trim that so you guys can see here. So now I have to connect that with the base. So okay, is slightly more damaged in the back, so it wasn't cooperating with the razor. So I'm gonna go in here, and that's one thing about your implement. You can test your tools out on your client's hair. For her hair, it was more breakage in the front. It's a little bit more resistant. So instead of pulling her hair and further damaging her split ends, I'll just do the front work with the shears. So that's what I'm doing here. I always have options as far as your tools are concerned. I always make sure that you're seeing how your client's hair is reacting. If you get a ton of pull and snug from a razor, then you know it'd probably be best if you use your shears to maintain the integrity of your client's hair. So here, just looking through her hair, she had a lot of like split ends or disconnection at the bottom from breakage. I'm just looking here at her hair. There's not a ton of split ends throughout. Now what you do see here, since we did establish a new guideline for weight, she has disconnection. So she has shorter pieces here and longer pieces, which means like she really hasn't had a trim in a long time. So even though there's not a lot of breakage there, in order to have a good haircut, you just can't cut the bottom of the hair. You still have to go through and you still have to go through and cut everything. So here you go. Here I'm going off the shortest piece of her hair. So at the bottom, what you want to do, since we're working at the back now, we want to work above the occipital bone. And so here, basically, again, I work off the rounds of the head, and so her hair naturally rounds about this point. So we know that in order to keep this base strong and establish that weight, you don't want to cut past that point. So when it comes to cutting layers, you want to cut above where her head rounds. So I can drop out a little more weight to there to keep that really defined. We want to keep that area really defined there. So we're going here, and we want to get this breakage off here. So in order to maximize length, I'm going to kind of change my angle here because she had really long hair, but I still wanted to round. And if you see here, you can see how it rounds her head really nicely. That's what we're looking for. I'm bringing all that middle point that I just started with. That was my guide that I'm working with. So I am bringing, instead of me having a traveling guide, I'm having a guide where everything meets back to that midpoint. And so what that means is, in terms for her haircut, her layers are gonna gradually get longer as they go to the side of her head. She's gonna have a nice round, so she's gonna have that tuck, as you can see here. She's gonna have that tuck in the middle point of her head, but her layers are gonna go shortest here to longer on the side to match the rest of her haircut. Now, again, I'm sectioning now, and I apologize, I don't have clips, but I am making clean partings. I'm bringing everything back to the center, and you see here my elbow, if you can see, my elbow is going up to match the position of my head. So it changes, like my elevation changes when I'm trying to maximize the length of her hair. And see, still have my guide, guys. And you see her haircut is already rounding. You can see that those layers, her hair is free, it's moving. That's me just kind of checking my work. So now I'm gonna go through here and just kind of check those points horizontally. Here. And you can just clean up. I haven't cut that side, so I'll leave those points alone, but you can kind of cross check your work there. So now I'm going back over here. I'm gonna do the same thing. And since it's better if you work behind your work, that way you can always have a visual view of your guide. So and I'm going through and I'm cutting her layers, point cutting her layers, just because I want that texture, I want that free flowing look in her hair. I want her hair to have maximum movement, so instead of doing it blunt cut, I am point cutting her hair. All right, okay, so I have the back layers pretty much established. The front I haven't done yet, but I want you guys to see here, although her hair is curving very nicely, you can see that dip of where her layers are. Now, to maintain the weight line, I can leave that there, but some people refer to that area as a shelf on the hair, and if you want to get rid of that, then you can go through here and you can cut below the bone of her hair here. I don't know if you guys can see that angle. I can go through and just kind of clean that up to where it blends with the top layers. So you see it'll tuck even further. Once we curl it up, it'll tuck even further inside of her hair versus having a shelf. That's the best way I can explain it. So I'm gonna go through and just kind of clean that up a little bit. And you can kind of see it's just a tad bit of weight in there. Nothing much, but yeah, it'll just give a better flow to her haircut. And again, with this one, I don't have to meet back at the midpoint. I can just, this would be just like a traveling guide, so. All right, so now for this, I want to connect this to the back. So I do want to connect my layers. So what I'm gonna do, a diagonal parting here. So basically I'm incorporating my shortest layer at the top with the longest layer down here. And again, because I want that base here, I'm gonna drop out majority of her hair to establish that weight line. We don't want to cut into that, because if you do, you're going to further create another hole. So we don't need a lot for the layers. As you can see, this is all we need to cut here. The rest of that is weight. If we cut too much into that, it's going to create more thinness, and that's what we're trying to combat, the thinness. So bring all of this up here. And again, we're going to drop out majority of that so we have our weight. We just want to layer that top section through there. So again, a very minimum cutting here on that side to clean that up. There you go. So as you can see, her hair is flowing nicely here. For me, I'm just going to add a little bit more of a layer into here to clean that up so it'll flow more seamlessly. There we go. But you guys can see that tuck there. So it's looking really good. We want that shake, that movement in our hair. So Okay. So now I'm going back through, meeting this together. I'm gonna clean up this line some more. All right. And now we're going to connect. I'm gonna do the side. So I don't know if you can see, bend your head back for me, sweetie. I don't know if you can see this. This is gonna be her bang here, but okay. I don't know if you guys can see here, but yeah, she has her bang. So we're gonna kind of isolate that a little bit because we still, even though she has that heavy bang, we still want to incorporate layers on the side of her hair. So again, taking 4 diagonal sections, partings. Gonna get the shortest layer from the back and elevate my angle up. And since her hair is fuller on this side, you see that we have fuller angles. But you also have to remember that since we cut the back, or the way that we sectioned off the back, a lot of this hair is the length of her front. So you want to keep that in mind. So I am going to drop out a lot more of that hair because I don't really want to cut into that. I still want her to have a really solid side over there. So if you can see here, my shortest layer is here. Even though it's a really long piece, we're gonna cut into that. I did do that one blunt just because of how my angle was, but I can go back through there and point cut that. So add a little bit more texture to there. There we go. We still have a full side, so here I'm still considering this section the side. And if I drop out all of that, then basically the only thing we have to layer is pretty much this angle here. All right. So flowing very nicely. Okay, so now we just have this bang area. So what I want to do here to maximize the length, and this is where the disconnection comes from. The disconnection, since we're going to have a heavy bang area, it's going to be disconnected from the sides. But even though it's disconnected, it's still going to be blended. So I'm going to take this top section here. I'm going to take this section here, so it's like back middle, and I'm going to merge those two together. So basically that back middle is going to be my guide for my bangs, and that's where I'm going to know how to cut. So since I want her bangs to be, you know, really layered and kind of fun looking, but I also want to maximize length, I'm bringing them all the way back here. So as you can see, she still has a lot of pair, and you just see how that flips over there. Still has a lot of hair to play with up in that area. So I can continue taking that section, bringing it back to the back middle of her hair. Pull that guide out straight across here. All right. All right, guys. And as far as the face framework, just because she does have, you know, breakage in this point here, I do want to address that. I don't necessarily want to cut off all the length, but you know, with you being natural, you tend to have like knots and split ends up there. You still want to address that hair. So I'm just gonna slice cut it through here, being very gentle. Cut off a lot of the length, or the strings that we had, but it looks like, you can tell, it looks a lot cleaner. It'll tuck them a lot nicer. But let me see here if I can get that behind her ear. So you guys can see it's already looking like a beautiful haircut. And then I go here. I like, even though this is breakage in the front too here, we still kind of want to address that as well. Now, one thing I will say about this breakage is kind of beneficial for this haircut is, and another reason why I wanted to do this haircut, because these short pieces in the front are going to push the longer pieces up. So it's going to really help create and emphasize that swoop area, which is something that we want to do. So your breakage can, I hate to say, your breakage can look intentional. It can help the haircut. So it's just all about how the stylist uses it to her advantage. So I uses it for the hair flow. So we have the haircut here. Let me take a look. I'm going to show you guys. So as you can see here, her hair, even with the breakage and how the sides blended in, you can barely tell that she ever had a hole or anything like that in her hair. It just looks extremely healthy, and this is before styling. So a good haircut is so important to your hair. So important. Don't be scared just because, you know, don't be scared of a trim. And then realistically, I would consider this a trim because as you can see on the floor, we barely took anything off. It's just a detailed trim. You want to make sure when you are getting a haircut that or a trim that they cut throughout your hair. You don't want someone coming through your hair and they just cut the length off, you know, and they just clean up the ends of your hair. You have hair throughout here. Everything has to match. Everything has to look like it's, you know, it flows together. The layers need to be intentional. The layers need to work with the base of your haircut. So you want to make sure it's as detailed as possible. So there you go. I'm going to get her all curled up, and we're going to get her silk wrap. I'm going to do some more of like some finishing techniques as I'm curling her up. This is kind of just like, you know, just a dry haircut just to get, you know, a good guide established. I'll go through and finish texturizing. I may pull out some my razor again just to see how her hair reacts. Some spots are thicker than the others, so just once I see how her hair curls up, I'll see if it needs to be thinned out a little bit in certain areas. But yeah, this is our haircut. Shake your hair for me. You see how that moves? That's beautiful hair. All right, guys. So I'll probably be back a little bit later for the final reveal.